I hope everyone's doing okay, and I want you to know we're going to get through this together. We're going to talk about two themes for the way that we are going to do our work for a little while at SBP. But first, I guess I want to talk right to you. This is going to be a tough time, but again, we will get through this. What's particularly hard is there's so much that we cannot control. We can't control what the government does. We can't control the stock market. We can't control the spread of the disease or of the virus. But there are some things that we can absolutely control in our everyday life. And I really want to encourage you guys to do it. I want you to do it because it's good for you. And we care about you. And I want you to control these things as well, because whether you see this yourselves this way or not, each and every one of you is a leader. Some of you are leaders by title. Others are leaders just because people are looking up to you. And whether it's your family or your friends or other communities that you're part of, you're leaders. And so we got to get this right. And here's the things that we can control. One, we can leverage science for our success. Science says that stress will accumulate during these sorts of times in the form of cortisol. We can flush the cortisol from our body by vigorously exercising. That's something all of us can control. So I strongly suggest that everyone exercises every day, ideally to the point of sweat. Two, we know that meditation and prayer works. It clears up gray matter. It lets us think better. It strengthens our immune system. Meditation isn't something we have to be good at. Like, it doesn't work better if you're good at it. It just works. And so I really encourage everyone to meditate. Third, I want to harken back to what we heard from one of our Puerto Rico team members who talked about connection. She told Edgardo, I'll tell you, I don't think we're social distancing. We're physical distancing, but we're not social distancing because we're keeping in touch with people. That is something you can control. And then finally, there's going to be tough times, no doubt, and there's going to be some sad facts coming out. I encourage each and every one of you to find a moment of beauty somehow, whether it's stillness, whether it's a plant, whether it's a walk, whether it's an activity virtually or with someone. Every day, find this moment of beauty. It will work. And so, again, there's things we can't control. And I want and need for the country, each and every one of you guys controlling what it is that you can control. So I'm not going to take feedbacks now, but I know you'll do it. I need you to do it, and our country needs you to do it. There's two themes for the work at SBP that I want to talk about. And we're going to hear from two people who are acting within these themes. And when we have our next call, I'm hoping we'll call on more people so we can hear other ways that people are acting within these themes. Last week at SBP was really a week of transition. It was a week of physically closing down offices. It wasn't a week of stopping work. It wasn't a week of abandoning clients or forgetting our values. It was really a week to transition from the physical office space into wherever it is we're working from home. This is a week to get back to it at the SBP way. We need goals every day. We need to achieve those goals. We need to understand if we're ahead or behind. And we need that for our clients. At the operating sites, you are going to, if you haven't already, going to start reaching out to clients, understanding what they need. I shared that with the executive committee of the board today, and their point was, you probably know what they're going to need, so let's start thinking through how we're going to deliver the services that we know are going to have to come. And so I want you to know the board is supportive. So the two themes, as we're transitioning back into the SBP way, there's two themes that I want to highlight for you. First one, Edgardo is going to speak to. It's a fact, and I spoke about it when we talked last week, that necessity is the mother of invention. Things don't change because they should, or because it would be nice, or really in times of comfort. Radical change and improvement comes at with necessity. And here, on so many levels, we are faced with necessity. I want you to bring that lens to your work. So I'm going to pass the ball to Edgardo and then mute myself so you can see him, who's going to talk a little bit in Puerto Rico, how he is harnessing the power of necessity to drive impact forward. Edgardo. Or Kyle, you can mute me. I'll mute.
Great, thank you, Zach. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, just to explain a little bit of the background that happened here. We were kind of forced to close sites from one day to the other due to an executive order by the governor deeming that non-essential work. Basically, all people had to stay at their homes for a period of 2 weeks. We're still under curfew, and we're on our second week now, at least until April 1st. So it's gonna be a challenging period. So immediately we needed to work and put our heads together and figure out how we're gonna do this transition very quickly, efficient, and as fast as possible in a way that makes sense for us to continue our operations as normal as possible. So I gotta say, first of all, I wanna bring the importance of our values. I don't like to say I'm pleasantly surprised by how quickly the whole team acted together, because it's sort of our expectations for everyone here. If you see our poster of SBP values, one of the biggest ones in the top is steer to turbulence. And that's precisely what we're doing right now. We're steering to turbulence. And of course, it's related to every single one of our values, including the MOM rule, that wear your hard hat. But this is something that we kind of expect from everyone here, just to put their hard hats on and start working together in ways that it feels like this is almost like a new disaster. We already have experienced some flooding, hurricanes, wildfires, and then this is the first I've seen pandemic virus that really is gonna stall our operations, physical operations, at least for a while. So we need to figure out how SBP can move forward and how can we all work together. So I just wanna emphasize a couple of points that I think are key into creating this new working method for us. First of all, communication. We have so many talented people in all of our operations, and the better that we are at communicating and sharing all this information with every single one of them, it's a key aspect into getting our next steps forward. So one of the first things we did is we needed to create an online curriculum for all our members that they were able to do from their homes. So we immediately started doing a spreadsheet of all resources that we can find online available, and basically all the EDs and operations. A huge shout out to Mike and Megan to also taking charge in this, and creating this curriculum online that allow our members to continue doing hours and improve the training. So one of the opportunities that we found here is that time, as you know, we always wanted to reduce the time between the disaster and recovery. So we're always working against time, right? So in order for sometimes for us to bring people back home faster, it meant that we needed to sacrifice some things for our in terms of training, maybe improving our operations. So I'm seeing this as a gift of time, because if we cannot continue doing the traditional method of rebuilding for the next 2 weeks, we certainly have the time to do all the things that we're supposed to do, like improve our trainings, look at really deep ways on what things are working in our operations and how to change it. So I'm looking at these weeks as a gift of time in order to improve our operations and invest time in yourself. I'm particularly interested in this because I think the most that you invest time in yourself, in your own skills, the better is ultimately for the organization. For example, if you're a CSC writing client bios and it felt like you only had a few hours to do this bio, now you have a bit of more time to put your passion in describing the stories that we're going to use in order to do more fundraising, for example. So investing time in developing your writing skills is a good option for you guys to have during these 2 weeks. Our PLs are taking online safety OSHA training. They're looking at videos. They're looking how to use more safely the guns. So this ultimately is going to help us reduce the accidents, improve our safety culture, and improve our training. Even if it's not hand-on, you're certainly going to be learning a lot. It helped the operation in Puerto Rico really talk about TPS in a way that we never done it before in our operations. So right now, I feel like everyone is aligned on the importance of the TPS system at SBP. And the other thing is creativity. Like Zach said, if you see the history of successful companies, successful inventions, they always come in a time of necessity, usually economic turmoil. That's when you create this. That's when you create these big ideas, and these big thinkers finally come to complete these ideas because necessity. So I'm kind of urging everyone to think outside the box and help us in many ways to continue finding creative ways for us to stay active, for us to stay relevant in our operations, in our respective communities, even if we cannot do it physically right now. So I will ask for everyone for complete communication and feedback. Let us know what trainings you're taking that we have given you that are working, and those who are not. Let us know what thing that you feel like you need more of. If there's a particular training that you didn't find useful at all, let us know as well, because we don't want certainly to repeat mistakes. We want to always practice constructive discontent. And so I feel like our organization, our values allow for that constant feedback and discontent. So please use it. Please let us know what's working for you and what is not working for you, so we can constantly improve. I feel like, for example, we can also look for ways when we get back to do the work at these houses on how to improve our construction, how to improve our safety. Are there things that we're doing that we weren't doing before, but now with this crisis, we need to take more care of? I'm thinking about cleaning at site, sanitation at the sites and our offices. So it's a good way to also help identify what we were doing wrong in terms of, and how we can improve it. So, and I also would like to circle back to what Zach said and mentioned. One of our members, her name is Noemi, she's a VC. She was the one who put the message about physical distancing, not social distancing. And I completely agree. And I don't know if this works for you, but at Puerto Rico, we have a group chat that's basically, it's work related, but also a social hub space for us to share how you're dealing with, how you're coping with this quarantine, your workouts, your recipes, your pets that are accompanying you. We ask everyone to share the pictures of their workstations. So as much as you can be involved, just like any day, just going to sites, speaking to your fellow members, speaking to your staff, please do it. It's essential for your health. It's essential for your creativity, because it's where we share ideas as well. So I'll ask of you to do that. And like I said, all you can do right now is find other creative ways to help us help you, and create more ideas into how we can incorporate more training during these 2 weeks, and look for creative ways to help our clients and community. I know that we just started calling all our clients to see what their needs are. So it's gonna take a lot of creativity, and it's gonna take a lot of thinking on before we can get on the ground, to identify what other types of work we can do at our communities. So I encourage you all to communicate, create, read. There's a great article on Political Magazine that I share with some of these, which I want to share with all of you. They got 34 thinkers on what they think is going to change either socially, politically, economically due to the virus. And it's a very interesting read because it forces us to think outside the box. And I'm seeing this as an opportunity for us to definitely think outside the box and how to incorporate more technology, hopefully, on our operations and the work that we're doing on the site. So I don't think I have anything else to say, Zach, so I'm just going to give it back to you.
Hey, buddy. Great leadership, Edgardo. Great teamwork with the team in Puerto Rico to make things human. Yes, we are also schooling at home. That's my son, Jack, who's going to go back and do a little math on the iPad. No, you need to right now, please. I can't fix this. I need to go to work. Son, thank you, sir. Do the marble math, please. Please, thank you. Sorry, folks. So we all have our own reality going on here, folks. Couple points. We can all be curious about something. And so I think the areas that Edgardo listed, safety, efficiency, serving clients, cleaning, are all very important. There's also shortly, ideally by the end of this week, going to be a couple bubbled up projects that I'm going to launch through the team that folks can either choose to work on their own or work in small pods. I am personally curious about where in our supply chain we can work on upcycling. In other words, what's the products that would otherwise be waste? How can we reconstitute them and turn them into something good so it's not putting them in the landfill? Energy efficiency. What groups of people would look at the building practices and see for no greater costs, maybe even less costs, how we can make our homes more energy efficient? A whole host of things, and operating sites. Please know within the next 24 to 36 hours, you're going to have opportunities really to understand the needs of the clients in your community. And there will be ongoing service opportunities consistent with that. So Edgardo, no surprise, but just awesome leadership. Really proud of you, buddy. Thank you. I'm now going to pass the ball to Elizabeth Egley. And the second theme that I want everyone thinking about is prioritizing your work. For the most part, almost across the board, everyone at SPP, you're doers. That's why you chose to come work for us. You're doers. And I can see during this out of work time, some folks just ruthlessly attacking the same priorities that they would have had if they were working from the office. The reality is we're at least a week or two away, and it's going to be different for every operating site from being in the office. Given that, our priorities should change. I want you thinking about playing offense. I want you prioritizing things that may take more time, more concentrated work, more research, a little group work, who knows, but that are going to have a bigger result. And so for all of you who could be trapped by your own work ethic of producing, banging out the checklist, I still want you to be able to bang out your checklist, but I also want you to rebalance your workload and focus on priorities that make more sense given this reality that we're in right now. Does that make sense, folks? And so Elizabeth is going to talk through, and this is, I actually feel like a Peloton instructor because I can call some of you out. So Tramel, thank you for nodding. I can tell you're on it. I love it. Tomcat, thank you for being engaged. Miranda, I'm glad you get it. Tommy, I see you're all aligned. Happy 1000th ride, Elizabeth. So passing the ball to Elizabeth, but I'm thrilled to see that people are deeply engaged in this. I'm going to mute myself, and then after Elizabeth, we'll take questions you guys text or IM or whatever it's called, your questions to Chad and he'll moderate appropriately.
Thank you, Zach. Okay, so if anybody's not able to see everybody, there's a button in some corner of your screen that says gallery view. And so you should be able to see more people on our team. And it's so awesome to see everybody. We can see your one thing that I was just reminded of as Zach was talking about curiosity and upcycling. I am in the middle of a great book that is by an author that has quite a few really good books and ones that were recommended within SBP. The book is called Upstream, and it seems really appropriate now to be reading about getting ahead before they occur, and really thinking through in the way that SB people do is solving problems. And so anyway, I just thought I'd share that if you guys are interested in a good book. It's interesting, especially now. Okay, so I'm going to talk about reprioritization, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background as to where I was 2 weeks ago versus last week versus now. So we started this year with a really big goal. We were so excited. We were, going to increase revenue that was going to allow us to do so much for our clients, for SBP. This is the year of performance. We're building a huge team. This is how, where our mindset was as of 2 weeks ago even. And so when the COVID crisis started becoming a reality, it definitely took me off course. Zach says a lot of you are doers and, you want to go. I think a lot of our identity is tied to that. And so as I'm sure many of you felt, I felt really disoriented and kind of a bit sorry for myself that all of our plans and momentum were getting derailed. And, it was short-lived, and then you realize that a lot more people are going through this in a harder way than we are. But, you still are faced with the realization that all of a sudden I was a homeschool teacher and I had a full-time job. And, this new reality was just really hard to absorb. And so, that took a little bit to get over. But then I realized that reprioritization not only became necessary for our mission and our goal, but also my sanity. I needed to see things differently and take control over what I could control. And when I say I mean I and our team and our peers. So after some coaching from Zach and Liz, I realized that this pandemic was not going to break our spirit of performance. We have to think differently, but it was not going to break us. So we talk a lot about not letting our discomfort take precedence over the discomfort that our clients are facing. And so we realized as a department, we got to steer through this discomfort and go on offense. We have to take control over what we can. And so what do I mean by that? We're going to focus on forward momentum. We're going to control what we can and navigate through things that we don't have control over. We're going to be curious and think about our work in a different lens than what we would have had the opportunity to when adhering to a strategic plan and KPIs. We are going to be sensitive to the folks we're talking to and really ask a lot of questions and understand where they're coming from in, I think, a unique way that maybe we would have overlooked. And we're going to be dot connectors. I think now we have this opportunity to find new ideas of how to plug in our team. I just got off a call with a huge funder and said, look, I understand you probably speak to a lot of other nonprofit groups, a lot of companies, and we have a team who can plug in. And so please look at us as a service that could help move the needle for another group out there that maybe we're not thinking of. And so all of these things are opening our eyes to thinking of things differently. having said all that, we have to raise funds. We are not losing sight of the fact that we are still going to be focused on our goal. We are going to be focused on this as the year of performance. We want to, we know that SBP is a problem solving organization. We don't just do one thing. And so we're really going to look in at this crisis as an opportunity to solve problems differently. And so what does that look like? I guess I'll share one more thing before I go into like specifics of how we're thinking of this. We are not, and we've never really been the brand forward group that has to lay claim to, you know, our brand is not the center of this. And so in plugging our service into other organizations, what we truly care about is impact here. And I think in conversations with our funders and companies and folks who are trying to do something about this, I think that really demonstrates across everything that you guys are doing is that we really care about the impact, and hopefully that drives the curiosity within each of you. So let me just give you some examples of how we're thinking of this. We're kind of working with 4 main themes in our development approach. First and foremost, SBP's mission is completely relevant to this crisis. Now more than ever, home is an essential component of the human experience. And SBP stakeholders have helped thousands of families have safe and secure homes within which to take shelter. And so we are reaching out to stakeholders and thanking them for giving our clients the opportunity to have a safe home. And SBP will continue to provide safe homes and really drive home that meaning of home for our stakeholders. Additionally, SBP doesn't do just one thing. We have 5 strategic interventions to achieve our mission. And I think it's really important for our team to understand that by and large, yes, our hands-on home rebuilding is slowing down for temporarily, but our share initiatives, our prepare initiatives, and advising other governments, those are still strongly moving forward. And I'll get into this in a minute, but prepare is a really important component of our work right now. And I'll share more about that in a little bit. The second one, and I've kind of mentioned this already, is playing offense. There's a study that was done by the Indiana University Lilly School of Philanthropy, along with US Trust, study of high net worth philanthropy, that shows that individuals in their giving look at disasters as an and, not an or. And what do I mean by that? Like if, you know, after Hurricane Harvey, folks who were looking to and willing to give did not replace their other giving with giving to this disaster. They really look at it as an and, not an or. And I think it really embraces the spirit of philanthropy that people have. People want to fix and solve and help. And so we are on offense, reaching out to all our stakeholders, donors, companies, foundations, and really understanding from their point of view, are they looking at this as an and not or, plugging in to those stakeholders in a way that will show them that our work and our interventions that we're going to drive forward are going to make a difference. And like we always do, we're very good at showing how, telling stories to show impact. And so that's playing offense. A third one, and this is a little more ticky-tacky, but grant execution. Every day of the year, a lot of our work is being funded by a grant that has very specific deliverables and outputs and restrictions. And we've been fortunate to hear from quite a few funders now who have said that, you know, that grant that we gave you, we are okay if you need to reallocate that funding in a different way. And not saying that we will do that, but just understanding the funders that are out there who are willing to be flexible really allows us to open our mind to say, you know, perhaps not putting hammer to nail, but being able to serve clients in a different way will be permitted through our partners. And so we're digging in a lot more there. And then I said I would come back to this. Unfortunately, COVID is not going to prevent tornadoes or floods or hurricanes. And we really hope that nothing big happens this year for the sake of many people. But I think it's our job to be thinking about the next disaster and our ability to plug in there. And so, we are approaching this on a few different angles. On the funding side, we want our supporters to make sure that they're recognizing sort of in the next 3, 4, 5 months, what our needs are going to be needed to be addressed, and to really think of disaster and disaster recovery and plug SBP into an integral player in that world. But on the preventive side, our communications team led by Fufi is doing a tremendous job of creating content that will allow people, while they're restricted to their homes, to take control of something. Zach talked about not being able to, see the future, and people are really looking to grasp on to something that they can control. Well, guess what? People in their homes can do many things that will set them up to protect their homes and families better should a disaster occur. For example, we talk a lot about scanning important documents to the cloud. What's that mean? You could just take a picture of an important document and store it on your phone. Taking a home inventory with a cell phone video and keeping it in case you need to file an insurance claim that will move quicker after. To like clearing debris or clearing like shrubbery and debris around the outside of your house. All of these things are things that we talk about in our e-learning program. And so we're really going to look to communicate this with nationally people, within companies people, and really try to push that preparedness messaging as something that people can take control of now, especially because they're at home anyway. So what excuse do you have to not be able to do that? And so those are the sort of 4 main ways that we're thinking about this. And to be clear, this is different from what we had originally planned. This was not this was not our strategy. This, some of it was, I'd say, but I'm really looking at this as an opportunity to really deeply engage with partners who understand our work and work with them together to find solutions to this crisis. And we can't wait to report out, as we move forward as to the progress that we're making there.
Great leadership, Elizabeth, and I was scanning the reactions. It was so good. You got snaps from Amanda Galena. You got a whole bunch of head nods from people I've never had the opportunity from now to meet. There were a ton of people taking notes. We have an interesting amount of lefties on the team. And it's great, like great leadership, great drive, loving it. So I think what I'd like to do now is, and a lot of head nodding, is start fielding some questions via Kyle for Edgardo, Elizabeth, me, or any other member of the senior team. I'm not sure how this is going to go. Maybe a little clunky, but let's try.
So for anyone who has questions, please go ahead and use the chat function. I'll read the question aloud, and then one of the team members here can answer that. We did get a question from Adam in New Orleans, and let me get to his question real quick, and I'll just summarize. But he is curious, since we're a disaster response organization, how are we going to respond to community needs as they arise? Is it possible for folks to brainstorm ideas that can serve the community that might be outside of SBP specific rebuilding work? So Zach, I'm happy to field that, or if you want to.
Yeah, why don't you take it, Kyle? That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, Adam, really appreciate the question. And as time goes by and I think if we see what we're seeing in other countries in the United States, the healthcare system is going to be taxed. Hopefully with social isolation, we're preventing that. But there is going to be great community need, and that can look like a number of things. And SPP is thinking through how we can utilize staff and AmeriCorps members kind of outside of our traditional roles. But we are limited in what we're able to do with AmeriCorps members. So we've received some guidance from CNCS that basically says, for now at least, we can't allow members to be on the front lines or interact with folks who are known to have COVID-19. It's a safety issue. But outside of that, would love for people to have creative ideas, voice those to your executive directors. One of the things that executive directors and sites have been asked to do is to come up with creative ideas and how we can serve our community. So please, when you do have ideas, bring them to your executive director, and we'll implement what we can. And as time goes on, I think there's going to be, like I said, great need in the community for help, and that could look like volunteering at food banks. That could be bringing food to elderly folks. It could look like a number of different things. So we're figuring out what that might look like. But please, again, if you do have creative ideas, bring them to your executive director. All right, I'm going to look for some questions here. Becca has asked, do we have a time frame for when the app for our clients will be out?
Sorry, Kyle, can you answer that again?
Certainly. Becca in New Orleans has asked, do we have a time frame for when the app for our clients will be out?
When you say app for the clients, I think what you mean there, Becca, is for the client assessment model. Is that correct? And Becca, you can unmute yourself. Hold on one second, and I'm going to cause soccer not to occur in the house.
Yeah, so I think there was a discussion during our first ALT meeting in the year when we were mentioning pulling out an app for either clients, or there was some sort of preparedness, kind of what Elizabeth was nodding towards, being that like you can scan your house, you can get all the checklists done for the emergency preparedness. So this would be a great time, if it's done, for our clients to be able to prepare themselves for the disaster, since hopefully they're all at home spending time with their family.
I can take that. So the app itself, unfortunately, is not built yet. And when you say app, like a cell phone checklist app is not. But to the extent that folks have the ability to use technology, X.org has all resources. And so embedded in a lot of that. We also have our preparedness guide that has a lot more of the things that people can do. And I'll share that with you all after this. There's like a particular link that we can share. And finally, we are going to be creating messaging that gives like quick hit, here are 5 things that you can do this week that will help protect your home. And so be on the lookout for that, and we'll make sure to share that strategically with all of you to be able to share with clients. Does that answer your question?
All right.
Elizabeth, I think that's a great answer. And why don't we make sure just get that platform as it exists now to everybody that they can share as they will. I think that would be great. And so I was looking at the comments, and let me see if I can just answer a few at once. Is that okay, Kyle? Or is that helpful?
Please.
Where did they go? So someone said thank you for the $100. Absolutely, we want to invest in you. There's a question about when we'll be able to go back on site. We will be able to go back on site. That's going to be an operation-specific answer depending on both needs, capacity, and when it's safe. I do not see anywhere being reopened within the next 10 days, I do see potentially opportunities for sites to open up after that. So that's the first answer. Second, as an AmeriCorps member, should I expect that my term will be suspended? When would I finish my term? How would I get my education grant? We do not, there may be one or two sites that are on a trajectory and the people there know it, where that site is going to cycle out. Leaving those sites aside, it is not the plan right now, and we do not anticipate directing members to suspend their terms. There will be distance-based learning. There will be opportunity for distance service, and we are going to create opportunities, ideally with SPP, but really as community needs are most appropriate for people to serve in the communities. In terms of the educational grant, and the rest of the question, there's very clear answers to this. When would I be able to finish my term? The answer is whenever service was open. When would I get my educational grant? It depends how your term would be suspended. Mike Sullivan will send around answers to these very clearly in writing. And I think your questions, that's kind of the royal your questions will help us further understand what the answers need to be. I don't think there's any bad answers so far. There's a couple questions about changing location. That should be done through your executive director and your AmeriCorps program manager. There's a question on building temporary hospitals. If there is building of temporary hospitals in communities where we're working and there's ways that we could meaningfully and safely plug in, it'd certainly be something we consider. SPP is not positioned to design a temporary hospital, and at this point there's no request for that. Let's see what else we have. I think that's it, but are there any other questions that folks have? Or Kyle, did you get any specific questions that weren't sent to everybody?
Just had one from Tramel that said, what are some good topics on which other sites are providing training to their PLs besides those that Edgardo mentioned, if any?
That's a great question. So Anya, can you work with Thomas to just understand best practices around training that's occurring at all the operating sites, and not just for PLs, for all AmeriCorps positions? Great question. All right, folks. I'm proud of all of you. I'm thrilled to have all of you on the team. I'm going to kind of scroll through and look at this engaged body language. It's fantastic. Don, it's great to see you. Vince, it's great to see you. Doug, it's nice to meet you. El Deli, we've never met, but thanks for waving. This is one heck of a team, and our country is going to be stronger because of you. You have to take care of yourselves. Remember what we talked about in the beginning. And for every reason, invest in yourselves. Okay? People are always welcome to reach out to me directly. And we will have this next at the end of the week. Part of the next call will be for folks on the team, not the two leaders we heard from today, Elizabeth and Edgardo, but people on the team to really talk through how they reprioritize their workload in light of this, and where they're applying necessity for innovation and impact. I see one more question. I see two more questions. Sorry. All right, I'm going to answer them. I love this. What's the G Suite?
I can answer that. So because of COVID-19, Google has opened up like the premium version of G Suite. And so now our team members can hold Google Hangout video calls or Google Meet with upwards of 250 participants, which is more than enough for each site to host full team meetings. So that is available if you members or staff want to host meetings or hold meetings. All you have to do is go to your calendar, click an invite, click add meeting, and you can set up your own Hangouts meeting. So really cool that they're doing that for us.
Great, and then we'll end it off with Greg. Greg, good decision to work outside today. I agree. Everyone should get outside every day. And Maurice, thanks for the positive sentiment. We are trying, and we're going to get there together. All right, everybody, we'll be back on the G Suite or whatever this thing is at the end of the week. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.